Ravenous, a seemingly very deep Canadian zombie creature feature. Yeah, let's see how that goes next on the Bloody Breakdown. Okay, so be sure to stick around after the initial spoiler-free portion of this video is done, because I'm going to get into some spoilers of this movie because I think I have to in order to talk about and fully grasp all the things this movie was attempting to get at and being kind of deep and symbolic. Okay, so with this film, Ravenous, it takes place in Canada, in Quebec, where, in the countryside, where a group of people kind of come together in the midst of the zombie apocalypse that has happened to try to find shelter and safety. So basically, this movie does not start at the very beginning of the zombie apocalypse. It's sort of already been happening. And they're dealing with zombies that have a tendency to not look like zombies. They're not rotting flesh. They don't seemingly look dead. I kind of got 28 Days Later feels from it, as in if you've seen 28 Days Later, the zombies are quick and they basically, it's like they're dealing with rage. They're not necessarily undead, they're more infected, and I think this film kind of leans on the fact that they're infected more than anything, but yet they still sort of they still crave like human flesh in terms of biting and eating the people. And so overall, this film, what it deals with is the kind of the different characters and what they're dealing with in the change of their world and trying to, I don't know, find some sort of safety, because no one really knows what's happening. There doesn't seem to be an explanation for why this is occurring. And these people in the countryside are basically trying to get to safety as they kind of come across each other and get together. So the pros of this film are, it had some really great cinematography, some really great looks to it. There was some really artsy kind of framing of bodies and quiet moments, because that's the thing about this movie. It was a quiet movie, and that makes sense because with the zombies, you know, they kind of were attracted by sound and regular movement and of some sort. So it's a very quiet zombie feature, except when there's things that actually happen in it. So there was a lot of beautiful shots. You know, you're gonna look at this film and you're thinking, this is really nice looking. This is very pretty film in that sense of how they create the atmosphere. The other great thing about this film is that it had some really solid acting. I think I believed all the characters and where they were coming from. They had a certain subtleness about them where it wasn't overacted, them dealing with the zombie apocalypse, but it also wasn't kind of like, yeah, this is just a regular day, people are getting their flesh eaten. They were affected, and it was dealing, and it was showing that the film was definitely trying to show the layers of how people are affected and trying to deal with it. I also thought there was some diversity in the cast, some diversity in the sense of age. Some of like older women were kind of taking more of the leadership. There were some badass older women in this film, which was really cool. So there was a varied, you know, you don't always see that sometimes in these horror pictures. Sometimes there's like the wise older person and they're not really badass, they're just wise. And in this sense, we got some older women, you know, in their 50s and up, kind of being badass and shooting the guns and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. I actually really like the zombies of this film. There was a certain mystery around them. I mean, in terms of prosthetics and makeup, they weren't like, you know, decaying flesh. But I don't always think you need a zombie feature where the zombies look gross. What I liked about it was that, yeah, the people were infected. Yeah, they were zombies. But there was also some sort of mystery around what they wanted, because they weren't just simply going after others. They were doing certain things in the film that I'll get into a little bit more in the spoiler area of this video that was like, what's their end game necessarily? So there was definitely something left in terms of it not being out and out just zombies, everyone's going crazy. They were somewhat different in the sense that there was a mystery around them. You didn't know what they necessarily were about or their end game, which kind of created an even scarier aspect to the film. The other good thing about this film was that it had some really cool jump scares. I mean, there wasn't a whole bunch of jump scares, not as many as you'd like in a movie that's darn near 2 hours. For the most part, this movie had some scary moments, and I think that's kind of hard to do in the zombie creature flick, because, you know, like we know there's so many of them, right? Sometimes the default in horror films is zombies or vampires, right? If it's not a vampire flick, it's a zombie flick. And, you know, we've seen so many of them. We've seen different kind of ways to do zombies, from like the zombies that can't see you, the zombies that can't hear you, the zombies who can't do other stuff, the zombies that can do everything, the zombies that look dead. We've seen a lot of them, right? I think the most you can do is make it your own if you are the director and the screenwriter. And I think in this sense, Ravenous definitely made it its own in its own way. And in the sense of, it definitely tried to make it unique. So that's where it goes into some of the negatives for me. So the movie was about 1 hour and 43 minutes long. I personally think that's too long for this kind of film, because of the fact is, I think a lot of it being as long as it was, the plot didn't necessarily move forward. It was still basically about them trying to get out. It wasn't like we suddenly found out why the zombies exist or something like that. It was just basically a lot of those, like the beautiful shots that I was talking about earlier. It was a lot more beautiful shots and lingering shots. And there were moments where it's like too much of a good thing can turn bad, in the sense of, yeah, that was beautiful. Why do we keep getting so many of those? The atmosphere has already been established. I don't need an additional 10 to 15 minutes of it in the film. We get it. We get it. Another thing was, and I'll get more into this in the spoiler section of it, I thought that I had the question, and I still have a question mark on it, is if this film was trying to be too deep. Like, when it came to the symbolism, when it came to some of the things that it was trying to say, like clearly this was not just your regular zombie creature feature where, oh, there's zombies, there's, you know, badass shots being fired and stuff. No, there's stuff going on with these characters, right? But I felt like within some of the lingering shots, within some of the sparse dialogue and stuff, that I was supposed to know certain things. And I did, after Googling some of the stuff, figure out, I'm like, oh, that's what I was supposed to know. But I think the question then is, if I have to Google a film after watching it to really have it so that it resonates with me some moments, did the director or the screenwriter really do its job, really do their job in conveying that story? Because that's what it is. I don't really necessarily feel like I should have to go somewhere else to figure out your movie. I feel like a lot of it should be there. Now, sometimes I'm not all knowing. No one is. So sometimes something is going to go over someone's head. But I do argue that I think a good amount of some of that symbolism is going to go over a good amount of the audience's head. And then you have to question, is that a good thing or a bad thing? And I don't know about you, but I don't necessarily always want to watch a film and then feel like I have to do a homework assignment, like research paper afterwards. Why are they focusing on this? Oh, this must be something. Too bad I don't know what that something is. So I thought that was a negative to me. But if you are someone who you don't mind almost 2 hour zombie creature features that don't necessarily go totally anywhere, but it's kind of like a slice of life, character introspection, symbolism that you may or may not get, then this film, you'll be fine with that. Overall, do I think you should give this film a stab? I definitely think you should give this film a stab. I think it's one of those films where you gotta try it out. It was definitely some creepy moments. There were definitely some jump scares. It was a solid movie. It wasn't like you're gonna waste, 2 hours of your life watching it. I think if the only drawbacks was the length and the fact that some of the symbolism, I think is gonna go over a good amount of people's heads, or maybe it's just unnecessary, the symbolism, I don't think that's a reason not to watch it. I think you'll get some of the jump scares and you'll either love all of that or you'll be like, oh, that was all right. Stay tuned if you want to get into some of the spoilers. But if not, comment down below. Let me know what you think, or give me some, zombie creature feature recommendations so I can check them out. And also be sure to subscribe so you are one of the first ones to know when I post a new video. The spoiler part of this. These zombies were basically also building what appeared to be shrines of like kitchen appliances and household furniture that they would then stand around and worship, in the sense that they would just stand there and be silent. And I didn't get it. I was wondering, it was creeping me out. So it was good that it creeped me out, but it was also kind of like, okay, we're lingering on this a lot. What does that mean? So you're thinking to yourself, he's gonna explain this, right? Something's going to explain. I know the zombie isn't gonna like suddenly become lucid and be like, oh yes, this is why we do that. But I mean, I felt like you're gonna have to like kind of explain why that is. That doesn't happen, right? So we just get these things of these zombies for some reason building towers of chairs. And then at the end, when two of the characters who died are zombies, they go to one of the monuments and they're staring at it in this bonus feature, like this movie is like a Marvel feature or something, because it's got a bonus feature in the middle of the credits, and they're staring at a parrot. It's a parrot. And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, that's got to mean something. Why is there a random parrot here? I don't know. There were kittens earlier in the film. I don't know why that was either. Now, when I looked it up, someone online who seemingly, I think they had the inside track, explained that the monuments had to deal with religion and the question of us being zombified and being like just brainless followers to something, and that the parrot represented how we have become so zombified that we imitate life, we imitate opinions and things of that nature that aren't real, aren't real. Okay, like a parrot. All right, let's go with that. I don't know. I mean, I get it. I mean, once that was said and I looked it up, it was like, oh, okay. But I thought to myself, I don't know if I would have got that if I hadn't looked it up. So, and when I did look at it without having looked it up, I was like, what? You know? And I'm like, should a movie make you say what like that? Is that really a good thing? That it gave me the incentive to want to look up and figure out what was that about, but not everyone's like that. So you're kind of like, you know, should I have to feel like I need to do extra work to really enjoy a movie? Now, that's not to say I didn't enjoy the movie without knowing the symbolism, but I felt like without knowing some of the very obvious symbolism, I missed out on the experience of the full film because I didn't really know that symbolism. And I think that's a drawback. I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. And so to me, that was a large negative of it, because it was obvious this was trying to be a deeper film than your regular creature feature, but I don't know if it accomplished that, if not just being kind of very symbolic. But if it's so symbolic and no one really gets the symbols overtly or immediately, then is it kind of unnecessary in a way? I think that's my question. I don't know if I'm right, but I think that is what came out to me when watching some of these lingering scenes that were clearly telling me to pay attention to something that I knew nothing about. But yeah, that was my opinion. Now, if you have a different theory about what those symbols were and what you got from it, comment down below. Let me know what you think. And also, once again, if you have some other recommendation for zombie features, let me know. Comment down below. And also, be sure to subscribe so you are one of the first to know when I publish my new videos. Thanks again for watching. Let's get creepy together.